Well, hello and welcome, everybody. Whether you are catching this on the live or a replay, my name is Shannon Fisher, care of Webinessence Enterprises, here delivering your 7-day forecast, which this week is for February 13th, which is today, and good right through and including Sunday, February 19th of 2023. Oh, last week was wild. So many wonderful things happening, lots of expansion, and just going over quickly what was shared with last week's video. There was new beginnings with having more trust and faith in our intuition and connection to all that is. And then filtering through with discernment from the things we're hearing and the information coming to us through this filter of our hearts with our own intuition and connection to the divine. So there was some really new energy that came with that new beginnings message, which was channeled through before we started, before I even pulled the cards. And the second card was Go Now, which means time to leave the situations that were not supporting our overall health and well-being or for our greatest good. And also going towards those things that we do want in our life instead of settling for anything less than that. So for me, yeah, I felt like I just went full steam ahead with some things, and instead of being met with opposition, it was embraced. And yeah, I felt a balance definitely taking place within my own life and experiences this last week. So I'm really hoping everybody else had a pretty darn good week last week. And this week, as I sat with Spirit this morning and did my meditation, the key words that came through, the first one was stillness. So this week, I'm hearing and feeling that there's going to be a lot of things being put out into the field, if you will, aka mainstream media. Okay, for us to draw your attention and focus on whatever situation that they're saying is happening. We want to filter everything still from last week. We still want to be using discernment to sit in that stillness while these things are being projected out into the field, and observe it instead of automatically reacting to it as if it's the truth. Filter it through your discernment process, through your heart and your higher power, and first ask yourself, is this actually true? And is it contributing or having an effect on me and where I am right now? Right? Very important, because we have been many times agreeing to the stories being told and or buying into the illusion being presented as if it's truth. And it's really important now that we observe things with childlike curiosity instead of just assuming that what's being told and talked about is truth, because we're coming into more alignment with our connections to our spirit and soul inside, which is connected to what some people call the higher power. We're not separate from that, but the illusion as a human having this experience at this time, the illusion is of separation. So if we buy into the illusion, it's very easy to get caught up with thinking that you're very small and insignificant and unworthy and all that crap that goes along with that separation of the whole, which has everything available to us once we're tapped into it. So, in order to get reconnected back to that and to quiet that ego, is to make time for stillness each and every day. And especially when you find that you are being triggered by something or you are witnessing yourself in a reactive mode. This is all coming from the lower programmed self called the ego or lower self that is just trying to keep us safe and in a comfort zone, which more times than not is not healthy. The ego is great for us when there is actual danger and will help us to be able to see the danger. So, but again, we need to filter everything we're feeling and we're seeing and check in to make sure, is this actually really happening right now? And if you hear or feel a sensation that indicates the answer no or feels negative, that means no. Then let it go. Stop paying attention to it, because what happens when we pay attention to something that's not necessarily real, we're adding into our energy. We're plugging into a whole nother story, which is going to create something that we don't want. So we can put a stop to most of what's happening by unplugging from the stories being told. And if you have people who live in places all around the world, reach out to them directly and ask them, hey, what's going on in your hometown or in your country? Like, is this an actual thing? And, when it is, of course, it's really important to understand that if we want peaceful resolutions and we're working towards unity and a better way to coexist with each other, by continuing to play the game of separation and division based on, oh, this country is this way, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get into all that, but it's still a narrative and a story to keep people. It's called divide and conquer, and it's very simple. And most people buy into it because it triggers emotions. And if what we're looking for is peace and unity and coexisting, learning how to respect each other's differences and still embrace each other as they are and as we are without trying to change anyone. This is how we're going to evolve into a more harmonious way within humanity. So, keeping it simple. Simplicity was the second keyword that came up. And it really is quite simple. If peace is what you want, then we need to be peaceful. To fight for peace is a huge contradiction, right? If you're fighting, you're not peaceful. It's that simple. So it's now time to sit back and really reflect on what we're thinking, what we're saying, and how we're taking action. Are we coming from a place of peace, or are you working in that energy of fighting, which is divide and conquer, in order to keep that separation game and illusion alive? This world, living in a place of polarity and with the extreme duality in the field that we have, is a part of the construct of this way of existence here on this planet. So that will never change. As far as I'm aware, conflict and chaos are what's needed and a part of the construct of the human life and, well, life on this planet, in this universe, because chaos is where we get to create something new from. But we don't have to get caught up in the chaos. We can recognize things for what they are, and then use that energy to propel us forward to create something new, right? So the transcending is understanding a bigger picture, not from our lower self point of view, but from that higher perspective. And the way to get that perspective is to get still, get quiet, tune in through your heart space, which is connecting to your inner child, your inner light. Don't get confused. This is not your childhood trauma. Your inner child is not your traumas. It's not. Misinformation from a lower self point of view that ends up keeping us locked into that because we keep regurgitating the same old stories, which doesn't change anything because things have already happened and we cannot change those. What we can do is change how we see them from this perspective, here and now, which we can give ourselves permission. It's really quite simple. Permission to let the past go, let those old stories go, and set the intention to move into alignment with the truth of who we are, the truth of our inner child, which is the light of the soul and the spirit within, which is very connected, is not fragmented or traumatized, never has, never will be, because it's pure energy from creation itself. And so it operates at very high frequencies of love and joy. And when we tap into that part of ourselves with that understanding, we can be guided by that part of ourselves. And then watch the beautiful miracles and magic unfold that is available to us in this existence. So the key words again are stillness, simplicity, and permission. So we do not need, nor have we ever needed, somebody else's permission for us to realize something or set an intention for ourselves and to let go of the things that no longer serve us. It is so important for us now with these new energies that we have moving forward to let go of all the things that have already been. And however you can do that for yourself, whether it's connecting with nature, through meditations, which I highly, highly recommend. Those both, do them both together, meditations in nature. And man, you can reset yourself in ways you've never imagined possible. But these things are daily practices in order to help us stay in what's referred to the eye of the storm, because it's always going to be somewhat stormy out there. The stories, the chaos, it's out there again, and it's there for us to learn something and teach us, right? But we don't have to wait for somebody outside of us to give us the permission we need to empower ourselves and realize, no, you know what, that doesn't feel right. I'm just not going to give that my energy at all. Or, oh my gosh, yeah, that really resonates. Okay, I'm all for that, you know. Or if you're not sure, if you're sitting on a fence with something, that's the best time to really take at least 20 minutes and sit with it. Just sit in quiet stillness and allow for the simplest answer or solution to present itself from within. Just like Occam's razor, the simplest solution is usually the correct one. So give yourself permission to disengage from buying into the program and illusion of separation. This is how we're going to unify with the truth of who you are and your higher power or connection to the higher power. Be careful, because we're not the reason why the world and certain humans do what they do is they're misusing that connection with the higher power. But it's very easy to recognize the manipulation and distortion that's in the field right now. It's very easy. But you have to get yourself quiet. If you're not quiet and you're in that state of fight or flight because of fear, You're not going to hear that inner guidance. You're not going to know and have trust. If anyone's in fear, they are not in connection with that higher power and trusting that there's something bigger happening here, and it is for the greater good of all, right? So surrender is another word that popped up. So surrender to your divinity and allow your light to lead the way. This is the permission that we get to give to ourselves, right? Just be. It's powerful to just be in your own light. You're the only person that can validate yourself and like support and give you what you need to feel better. So when we stop believing that it's other people's responsibilities to make us happy, then we take our power back and we start giving to ourselves what it is that we truly need for our own health and happiness. And also, when we're in that stillness and we're simplifying everything in that stillness, we're not in that state of fear or fight and flight, and your body goes into natural homeostasis, which promotes health and well-being. Disease is only created when there's an imbalance in the energies and your environment, which we are not correcting, and it ends up manifesting as a physical disease in the body. And it could be anything from headaches to more serious accounts like fibromyalgia and stuff like that. And it's really quite interesting if you watch, scientists and doctors and Greg Braden. Oh, hello, Michelle. How are you doing? So there's quite a few people out there. If you start listening to the podcasts and things about understanding the human condition and the programs of the mind with the ego and the lower self, and our minds are extremely powerful, and this is why the placebo effect has been proven to work. That's how powerful we are. If we believe something to be true, then you're going to absolutely have an experience that's going to show that to you. And it doesn't mean that it is true, right? Because there could be a different possibility. But when we're focused on something and we believe, like if we're fixed on something, then the universe is supporting us by going, yeah, okay, you're right. But then if you shift the gears and start thinking and believing the opposite of that, the universe also goes, yep, you're right. Here you go. So again, permission to flip the switch in order to create something new and beautiful into your life. That is your responsibility and yours alone. That doesn't belong to anybody else outside. So just remember, if we are waiting for somebody else to validate or dictate what it is that we should be doing, we're giving our power away. And right now, the divine feminine is really rising in every human. And it's clearing out all of this old, distortive, masculine distorted energy. So it's not the divine masculine energy that's distorted. It's just the masculine energy that's been distorted on a very human 3D level. And that's what's being cleared. So the divine feminine is coming up as she's rising like a phoenix. And she's coming into balance with the divine masculine, bringing that back online. Oh, I got a strange pain in the back of my head. Well, isn't that interesting? What does that mean? Feels like I bruised the back of my head, but I know I didn't bang it on anything. Very strange. Okay, they're not giving me any information about that right now. All right. So, again, the keywords are stillness, simplicity, and permission. Give yourself permission to simplify your life and make time for stillness each and every day. This is how you will promote your health and well being. Okay. Whoa. That card just flew. And it flipped over while I don't know if you guys saw that, but we got Moses here would take charge of the situation. The power belongs to you, and the power over your life, how you feel and what you choose to do, does not belong to anybody else. So pull that back and see what you can do. Remember, respecting everybody else's wishes to be exactly who they are, because that's free will and that's their choice. Respect is a two-way street, regardless if we agree with people or not. This is how we're going to change. Excellent, Michelle, right? The more we balance and take our power back, the more we're going to unlock those abilities that we have, the metaphysical abilities that every single human is capable of doing and working with. It is. It's so amazing, isn't it? And it continues to shift and expand. I've been on this journey since 2011, and it still floors me the level of expansions that take place, especially after like some challenging things hit and I move through them. It's like I've learned over the years, and I'm getting a lot better at this now, to surrender in the moment of something so that I don't allow that chaos to sweep me up and then I just spin, right, and lose complete focus and power, because I got caught up in that old story again. But now I'm recognizing things for what they are, and when we move through those lessons, because that's all they are, they're just lessons teaching us and reminding us, wait a second, I just, instead of spinning out on that, I actually work through it, and then boom, expansion with your abilities and what's happening in your life in very magical ways. It just organically happens as if by magic, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So that take charge of the situation was just a spirit's way of letting you know that there's your permission from spirit to yourself, to ourselves, to give ourselves the permission that we need to unplug from a narrative or story that doesn't even belong to us, and redirect that focus to your own health and well-being. And once we get in a better balance and state with that, we can show up for other people that are drawn to us, in much better ways. For we can only give what we have. So if there's room for improvement with self, this is where we need to start first and foremost. Okay, I am going to pull 3 cards from the Ascended Masters Oracle and 1 additional message of guidance from the Wisdom of Avalon Oracle. This one was really jumping out at me when I was looking at all my decks for this week's forecast. So, what is the forecast for the general human collective for the week of February 13th through 19th, 2023? Please and thank you. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, I love it. Okay, so 2 cards just fell out there. I guess we got 2 additional messages of guidance. And I want to let you guys know too, on my Facebook page and TikTok, I will be taking pictures of all of these cards and pictures of the full write-up, the entire write-up of each card, so that you could read all about that, as well as, coming back to watch this replay, which is a deeper dive into it all. All right. I'm loving this new practice, if you will, that I'm doing here with the sitting in meditation before I come live and getting the key words and then diving into that before I even start pulling the cards. Because as you're going to see, the cards are going to show exactly what I was just talking about. Well, the one card that flew and flipped over there in the air was a wrap up of everything, right? Take charge of the situation. However, the main messages that are pulled for us here are from the Ascended Masters. We got first Ascended Master Hina, and the message here is freedom. Now, for those that don't know me and have not seen me pull this card before, I always hear Bob Marley's song, the Redemption song, and one section of it from that song is "Free Yourself from Mental Slavery." Yeah, so highly recommend listening to this song, because here this is going into alignment with permission, the word permission that we got earlier here, because we are only as stuck in our situations as we are allowing and believing we are. And we do have the power to shift that belief, to change that thought, to free yourself from those thoughts. So there's lots of different modalities and ways, practices out there that can help you retrain the brain. Positive affirmations, mantras, EFT, SRT. There's lots of things out there. So meditation is a really, really good thing too. So, and of course, that's our second message. Buddha has absolutely shown up with a message to meditate, which goes into connection with stillness. So here we got permission to free yourself. The stillness is had through meditation. And then the future outcome is the ability to open ourselves and our hearts to love. So here in comes what this card is, the Christ consciousness card. The energy, the Christed energy, which is of fifth dimensional frequencies and higher. And this is only felt through the heart space. The head, or I'll say the head, the brain. No, the brain isn't even what the mind is. The mind is, let me see, is this correct? What I'm hearing right now is the mind is more connected to the ego and the programs of what it already knows, whereas consciousness is open. But in order to get to that consciousness in an open way, we have to shift out of the mind, which is just operating from that lower self. Is that correct? He said yes. It is pretty simple, but humans have been so programmed to convolute and make everything so difficult that when something simple gets presented to them, they're like, oh no, that can't be, or it's too good to be true. No doubt. We got to shift that, right? Because it's not too good to be true. But if we believe it is, then we end up sabotaging the situation somehow, some way, because of that very limiting belief system that we are still possibly entertaining and believing as truth, right? So This week is all about freeing ourselves from our own constraints, if you will, the mindsets. Once we realize, oh my God, that was very limiting, and opening the mind, which is done to get to that higher consciousness. We have to tune in, we have to get still and quiet and go through the heart in order to hear it, in order to feel it. And then in comes that light like nobody's business. So, yes, hear the message. Let Jesus take the wheel. So, I mean, that's pretty funny. I'm not a religious person at all, but I know what this energy is because I've had direct experience with it and I carry it. It resonates. Like, well, we all have that energy available to us. But if we're choosing to operate in the lower frequencies, it makes it very hard to tap into this. Once you're tapped in, oh man, you don't want anything other than this energy because it's so flippin' beautiful. But this energy is connected to, like I was talking about earlier, the inner child, the inner light within, which again is not our childhood traumas. Two very different things. And it's important that we understand the difference because the inner child is the light within us. And it's referred to as a child as far as I'm aware of, because it's timeless. It's ageless. It's energy of pure light. So it's pure and it's whole and it's been a part of us in our heart space the whole time. We've just been conditioned and programmed to ignore or separate from that part of ourself with that ego. Okay. So yeah, surrender and let Jesus take the wheel. This is my understanding of what this means now on a very simplified explanation. I hope it makes sense to you guys, like not religiously. It's let Jesus take the wheel. Let the light take the wheel within your life. Let it guide you where you want to be and need to go. Okay? Because it will never, ever steer you in the wrong direction. And then the higher self message, or bigger picture from the Ascended Masters, is Epona with crystals, right? So working with crystals throughout this week will help. There'll be certain crystals I feel that a lot of us will be drawn to that will help to calm the mind and calm the body and raise your vibrational frequency to that of happiness, right? And stillness and acceptance, where we can be calm, and that's when we can actually heal and or prevent any kind of disease. So I'm also feeling with the crystals here, like some people for calmness, a good one would be howlite, to reduce that mind chatter and anxiety. Howlite is really, really good for that. And then selenite, highly recommend everybody get some selenite because it does not hold or retain energy at all. It operates on, it has such a high vibrational frequency that it continues to recharge itself and therefore the energy around it. So it cleanses and recharges any crystals that are around it. And when we have it in our field, it helps to raise the vibration, like cleanse and charge up our energies, raising that vibration. So just a few things there. All right, the first additional message of guidance coming from the wisdom of Avalon, we got the Wind Fairy. And the Wind Fairy's message is about thoughts, words, and intellectual analysis. So, yeah, it's going in connection with the whole freedom there. So, and I don't like using the term anymore mindful because our minds are completely full and 3/4 of what it's full of is absolute crap. So Give yourself permission to let the crap go. And with that intention in and of itself, you'll start to become more aware of your thoughts. Observe the thoughts instead of having thoughts or words being spoken in a way that triggers us. If we're triggered, well, there's still some kind of uh, healing that needs to take place, which usually it's more easier. It's easier than we have been told. Another old program is that healing is a hard and difficult process. Well, it is hard and difficult if you believe it is. And I had to flip the switch on myself with this one, because the more I kept believing that it was hard and difficult, each lesson I was having an opportunity to learn was more difficult. And then I thought, wait a second. No, I'm deleting, uncreating, and destroying that belief across all time, space, and dimensions. Thank you very much. And embrace the truth and belief that things are easier than I used to think. And as soon as I adapt that mindset, the things that I go through, and don't get me wrong, things are still going to be challenging, right? It's part of life. But when we stop judging it as negative and hard, it doesn't end up being anywhere near as bad as an experience that we may have in the past when we did believe it was negative and hard. We changed the trajectory and the experience, and that's within our power to do. It's absolutely amazing. So with the thoughts and words that come up in intellectual analysis, it's important to be knowledgeable about things. So if you're not sure about something, do some research, but also don't just stay in the head. It's really, really important to filter things through your heart as well. So go through the heart and then hook back up to the mind, and then you can work together with the heart or light being in the driver's seat, not the mind lower self, which is just in the mind. Hook up with the driver's seat, with the light in the driver's seat first, and then use the mind and the intellect to work together to discern a situation. So the second message we have here from the Avalon, wisdom of the Avalon, we got the owl. And the owl represents deceptions and wisdom. So it's really cool whenever I see the owl pop up as a message from, or medicine from, an animal. And that owl. So when the owl's medicine is here working with us, we actually are more discerning, or we're more tapped in than when we realize. So if somebody does approach you and they're saying something, but all of a sudden, the energy doesn't match, so there's deception taking place, trust that energy, because you're feeling off for a reason, right? It just, nothing's random, and there's no coincidences. Okay. And everything happens for a reason. When you tune into this and pay attention to the signs and don't ignore them, then we won't get caught up in a game that we didn't want to be playing, right? So there is this week, I feel like the reason why the stillness, the simplicity, and the permission to just be yourself for now, well, now and always, don't ever not be yourself for anyone else, right? Then you will be in your full power, managing your life to the best of your ability, and other people will end up recognizing that and want that for themselves. So, but this energy we've got this coming week, I feel, is there's going to be a lot of stories being put out there to instill more fear, to get people more into, or stay plugged into, that game of divide and conquer. Separation is one of and this division and separation is one of the biggest problems and deceptions on this planet for humans right now. And I'm telling you, the only animals or life forms on this planet that need help are humans. Okay, nature and the earth herself doesn't have a problem. The problem is the humans and what they're doing in their separateness of nature and the truth of who they are, and just learning how to manage themselves in trying to dictate and control others. That's it. It's really simple. When we unplug from that game, it will fall away, and a new program, if you will get uploaded. So, but for a lot of us, we're going to be able to see the deception right away. The inconsistency of the words being said are going to alert and trigger some kind of emotion inside that doesn't feel so right, or a physical sensation that doesn't feel so right. Really important to pay attention to that and not plug in. Don't engage, because even engaging to try to, call them out or whatnot is plugging into the game and keeping that narrative alive and or creating that particular story to manifest in reality. And we don't want those things. So be aware of what you're feeling, because there's wisdom with the things that we've already experienced. And that will become very apparent with what we're feeling in each moment. So trust through the heart and know, right? Know that your power is over yourself, no one else. Okay. And then in the bigger picture, overall grand scheme of things, with the wisdom of Avalon, we got the wasp. Okay, so the bigger picture about thoughts and this deception that's coming is coming from a place to trigger anger, retaliation, and jealousy. So please know that if these triggers are happening for you this week, the best course of action is going to be get still, get very quiet with yourself, turn off the outside world for at least an hour. Give yourself permission to do this. Sit in meditation, right? Open your heart and ask the light to shine through you, and surrender to that higher power. And then the solution to heal the trigger will become very clear, and it will be very simple. Sometimes it's just a matter of realizing, wait a second, that was then, this is now. I can't change the past, so I'm going to accept it for what it is, right? You're here for a reason. If you weren't here for a reason, you wouldn't be here. It's just that simple. So, and your reason is maybe to help show others how you've stepped up, and gotten through the things of the past. But the past is in the past. We can't change it. So once we can accept it for what it was, then we can start to heal it. It's in that resistance that these things happened. Oh no, it shouldn't have. It shouldn't have. It shouldn't have. Well, maybe, but if it shouldn't have, as far as a bigger picture is concerned, it wouldn't have. There is a reason for it, and sometimes we just have to give our doubts and our anxieties about it to that higher power, and just surrender and trust and have faith that the bigger reason is known up there. And one day, if you're meant to understand it on that level, you will. And I have, for my own situations that I've experienced in my life. And it wasn't until later on in life that I realized, looking back, and after a spiritual awakening, of course, that I realized that and got that bigger picture of why things happen the way that they did. And I'll tell you, for most of us, I'm a strong believer that we came here to put an end to a lot of things that were on a repeating pattern, lifetime after lifetime of distortion energies. And so, yeah, the buck stops here. So you may have been the last person that would have to endure such a tragedy in order to clear the field for your children and their children. 7 generations forward and back, you get to clear all of that energy. And for me, I'm honored to have been able to have that awareness now. Of course, those situations we don't ever wish and hope that they would be in this world, but it is what it is. And unless we can get to that place of accepting that it just is what it is, we'll continue to hold ourselves back and be in that mental constraint of stuckness and no longer free. But the choice is ours. We can free ourselves from the torment of the past by not allowing it to affect us in the present, or recreating it so that we experience more of it in the future, which is how history repeats itself. By continuing to resist acceptance of the past, that's what keeps it going over and over, because we're not learning how to let go. We're not learning it's for a bigger picture. We're not learning that this happened to help us grow. And it's also helping teach a whole bunch of other people about a situation that we're not even privy or aware of. But you better bet your bottom dollar that it's having a positive ripple effect. And there's your silver lining. Once you find a little silver lining, no matter how insignificant it may seem to you, it will create a very significant and profound change. So the crystals will also help shift those energies. And if anger is what's being triggered, allow yourself to move, physically move your body. And I don't mean attack somebody. Remove yourself from a situation that presented that trigger to you, because the trigger has nothing to do with the person, but everything to do with an unresolved issue from a past experience that you've had. So disengage from that person and that situation and do a deep dive in yourself. And in order to move the energy, I find it very effective for me to dance, and dance hard, like even start punching the air and stomping on the ground kind of thing until I'm exhausted. And you literally exercise out. You're moving that energy up and out of your body so that you're no longer holding it. And this is how we're being gifted to show up for ourselves in these new energies here. Oh, and by the way, we still have a whole month and a half of all planets going direct. So there's it's at the end of April. I just found out that I'm not sure which planets, but we have until the end of April where all this forward momentum with all the planets moving forward is still in play. So the energy, and it's going to be moving right through that, like that, with the spring equinox. So it's really amazing. The energy, it's very excitable and feels like it's very fast moving. So it's really important for this week, for the things that are going to start popping up in the field, trying to vie for your attention and for you to believe that story and keep that narrative going, to shut it down. Get as quiet and still within yourself as possible so you can reset your own body your own mind, your own soul, and come back into better alignment with yourself, which is going to allow you to be more productive within your family, within your circle of friends, and within your community, and therefore your area that you live. And if we all just do these things, we can change everything in the blink of an eye. But we have to come to terms with these things on an individual basis first, because free will is a thing. And yeah. Okay. So I'm going to leave it at that. And if anybody else ending up catching this replay would like, and you've made it this far, thank you for watching. And if you would like to have a specific question answered for a private reading, go ahead and make a comment. And you do, I believe, have to have an account in order to be able to comment. So, but if you comment asking for a personal question, as long as it's before the end of February 19th, I will definitely answer your question to the best of my ability. All right. Well, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful next 7 days. And remember to keep it simple, right? And give yourself permission to do just that. And let your light shine, for we are all bright and very beautiful souls here. Namaste. I will see you next Monday.